Today, we're looking at a blue ink by Noodler's Luxury Blue. Now, as always, there's timestamps down below, so if you're in a hurry, you can skip around. But if you got the time, it really does help this channel out for you to check out the entire video. Also, if you're interested in other blue inks, down in the description is a link to the blue playlist. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, in some of the testing, we like to use some standard paper like Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia pads. Up first is 90 GSM Clairfontaine. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen. It does offer some shading. You see in the X in Luxury, it's quite a bit darker. The E in Blue is a little bit darker. The Extra Fine is lighter than the Stub with no feather spread, halo sheen. It's offering some shading, like the hump in the H of the is a bit darker, the K in Quick, the B in Brown, and the X in Fox. It's offering some throughout, little spots of it, 5 seconds to dry. Medium is dark like the Stub with no feather spread, halo sheen. It does also offer some shading. Brown starts darker and works its way lighter. Over goes from light to dark. 11 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both do show color variation far left to far right. We are getting it in the writing. And the smear test you could probably recover if you smeared this while you were writing. To have a range of experience with this ink, all the writing samples are done with this Jinhao 159 with a 1.1 stub, the Jinhao X450 with a medium, and a Jinhao X750 with an extra fine. Then a fountain pen Revolution Moft was inked up, used for a day, and used to take the notes for this video. Now the second standard paper is 52 GSM Tomoe River. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. The Extra Fine is quite a bit lighter than the Stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 11 seconds to dry. The medium is dark like the Stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade, 19 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both do show some color variation, though we're not really getting it in the writing. And the smear test, more because of the paper, you're not going to recover if you smear while you're writing. I agree with Vita. There's a lot to learn by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. A line of ink is put down and then it's put into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And you see the outline of where that ink was put down, where it wanted to start bonding very quickly. The rest pushed it up, its way up, mostly uniformly, so it's grabbing a hold of the paper as it's moving. Now the one on the right is let dry for 10 minutes before it's put into water. And you see that that ink really stays in place. It does not want to move, which means we're expecting this to be a very resistant ink. The third standard paper is 80 GSM Rhodia dot pad. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen. It does shade. Look at the X in Luxury, the Y in Luxury. In Noodler's, it goes from dark to light to dark. The Extra Fine is quite a bit lighter than the Stub. With no feather spread, halo sheen, only a couple of shade spots like the H in the, K in Quick, B in Brown, X in Fox, just letters here and there. 5 seconds to dry. Medium is dark like the Stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, better shading. Brown goes from dark down to light. Fox goes from dark to light to dark. Over is dark to a mid-tone to dark. 9 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both do show some good color variation. Better in the medium than the Extra Fine. And the smear test, you stand a fair chance of recovering this if you smeared while you were writing. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it may be to clean from your pen. The smear is allowed to dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, the interesting thing is that it's not yellow there anymore. It's discolored towards a green, which means some of that blue is moving, and the blue writing is lightening and turning green a little bit, which in itself is kind of interesting. Although I still would feel safe using it in a note-taking situation. Looking at water, it barely moved any, but you see just off to the right side where some of that blue ink has moved. So not all of this ink is staying in place. Pen flush does everything that water does, and not really much more. The 1/3 bleach solution isn't really breaking this ink up off the page. It's not changing things very much at all. Now, I had to use pen flush to get this entirely out of the pen, but it wasn't like it was hard work. It was just dealing with getting it all the way down and shook up inside that eyedropper. For the additional writing samples, the papers changed up quite frequently just to have more experience with what different inks can do. The next paper we're going to look at it's a 16-pound Mead notebook paper, so just regular old notebooks. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. That medium has minor feathering all over if you look at the word luxury, but not too bad. No spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade. The extra fine is a bit lighter than the medium with no feather spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 2 seconds to dry. The scrubby does show a little bit of color variation, but we're not getting it. And a smear test, you could definitely recover it if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average viscosity or flow was 2.5, and the realm of normal is 2.1 to 2.9. Noodler's Luxury Blue has a viscosity of 2.11, making it normal. The next writing sample is done on moleskin paper, or as some might pronounce it, moleskine. Moleskin. We do get bleed spots that are occurring, but not the type of bleed spots that touch the page underneath, nor would they stop me from using the back of the paper. As a paper that's not known to be very good with fountain pen inks, this is tremendous performance here, that it's really only got tiny spots that need to be circled to be pointed out. No real ghosting. I'm impressed with how Moleskin's performing here. That medium at the top has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is a bit lighter, but still readable. No feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 3 seconds to dry. The scrubby does show a little bit of color variation, but we're not getting it in the writing. And the smear test, I do not think you could recover this if you smeared it while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average dry time was 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Noodler's Luxury Blue has an average dry time of 10 seconds, making this a faster drying ink. The last writing sample is done on always loved 20-pound copy paper. Of course, we do get plenty of bleed spots that occur all the way up in that medium at the top, and quite a few that are occurring down here in the extra fine. However, just to be clear, this is not bad. This is not touching the page underneath. I would not use the back of this paper, but this is not bad at all. It's performing fairly decent. The ghosting is more a result of how deep that ink is getting into the paper. The medium does have some spread to about a broad. It's not feathering though. It has no halo, sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is lighter than the medium. It has no feathering. No spread, no halo, sheen, or shade, 1 second to dry. The scrubby's showing some color variation. We're not getting it, which is fine. The smear, you're not going to smear this, so you're safe if you were to accidentally drag your hand across it while you were writing. Instead of finding inks that look like Noodler's Luxury Blue, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I went with black because blue with black are so very classic, and I chose Blackstone's Black Stump. So what do I think of Noodler's Luxury Blue? This is a nice vibrant blue, often, and given the right paper. It seems cheaper paper makes it very dull to look at. I thought at first this was a very aggressive ink, and I was wrong. Watch it flow inside this pen. It doesn't hold on to the pen at all. I do wish it shaded more, but I will remind you that it did take pen flush for me to get this entirely out of this pen. So what nib and pen give the best writing experience with this ink? Really wet pens give a much more vibrant blue, where your medium to dry pens have the opportunity to really show off some more of the shading. I think I like the vibrant blue more than the shading for this ink, so I would go with a very wet medium nib. I hope you got something out of this video, and tomorrow we're going to take a look at Schaefer Brown.